After giving more than 30 talk show interviews in Europe, Norbert Heuser, a German entrepreneur, is now here on the Tan Talk Radio Network with his own show, Improve Your Life, covering many total different subjects and introducing many people from all walks of life. And now, here's Norbert Heuser.
Hello to all of you and good evening. It's Monday, 6 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m. Every Monday is my time, and my show is called Improve Your Life. Thanks a lot for dialing in. If you have any questions during the show and you would like to call in, the number is 727-441-3000. 727-441-3000. Feel free to call in if you have any questions you may want to get answers. Hopefully I can answer them. I don't know, but I'm trying my best. All right. So as you may remember, every week I have a question, a quote, and I'm asking you who said that quote last week. And the quote was, "Our rivers and soil are being depleted at a dramatic pace. In the near future, we will not be able to feed our population and quench their thirst. The simplest and most effective solution is to increase the tree cover and in turn enrich the soil and replenish water bodies." We're up to this, guys, whether you know this or not, whether you accept it or not. We are screwing up this planet big time in every aspect, So we have to do something about nature, and we're running late. We're talking today about the bees and what's going on there. So who said that? Nobody sent me an email with the correct answer. The correct answer would have been a gentleman called Sadhguru, an Indian guy who I evaluate very high. Sadhguru is a very, very cool guy. And he said that, okay? Now, I give you the new quote, and if you answer the right, give you the right answer to the quote, who said that, then you can win one of my cups or my drinking water bottles or whatever you fill in. First class quality. You can find it on my website, improveyourlife.us, under promo. And this is what they look like. Very cool design, very cool quality. Now I'll give you the person's quote for today. And the quote is, "Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young." So if you can tell me who said that, send me an email. Go to my website, improveyourlife.us, send me an email, and then if the answer is correct, you win, by your choice, one of those cups or water bottles. All right? Waiting for your correct answer. And if not, I'll tell you next time who it was, as usual. The other part of my show is always the book of the week. And the book of the week I recommend is actually a collection, The Essential Living Resource, The Self-Sufficiency and Survival Platinum Package. Well, I got this several years back. I must tell you that I believe that we should have a plan B and should see how we can survive in crisis, in times of crisis, and can be more self-sufficient, and what we can do with our garden or our plot around the house or outside, or all kinds of survival tricks with plants and nurturing and food, and what you should know. And I'm very happy about this book. It was very inspiring. I highly recommend you to look into this. As you can find several books on my website which I recommend. I don't sell these books. But I recommend them to people to improve their life. And I have many different books with many different subjects. And I encourage you to read and to study more. And I just give you what I found interesting. All right. The first part then after the book is a gentleman who I want to bring in. And Paul Levine has been on my show. There's a complete show with him. And from time to time, I'll bring Paul Levine in with a short track of what he would like to tell you.
Thank you for having me on the show today, Norbert. Words from your spirit. You are a survivor. Did you wake up this morning? Nice job. How old are you? Awesome. You made it through all those years. Do you remember the time when there was that struggle and you made it through? How about that other time? You remember, even you wondered if you'd get through that one. And you did. Yes, you are a survivor. It would appear no matter what life throws at you, you make it through. Think about it. You're here listening to these words only because you survived. No matter what you're facing right now, even if it appears bigger than anything else you've dealt with so far, you know you are a survivor. I am Paul Levin with I Deserve a Perfect Life, because you do. The Words from Your Spirit series is about you having more happiness, more confidence, and more inner peace. Visit me at IDeserveAPerfectLife.com. Set up a time for us to talk at IDeserveAPerfectLife.com/free session. You can also call me at 813-841-5583 or email me at paul@IDeserveAPerfectLife.com. Let's talk about how you can have your own perfect life.
So today's theme of the show is the bees, and more in particular, the fact that bees are dying by the millions and trillions and vanishing from this planet. This is not a complete new fact. This is not a complete new fact that the bees are dying by the millions for people who are insiders. Politicians go hush-hush about this, like a lot of other people do, and the average person does not know anything about it. And the media, as usual, hardly reports about this. For example, 10 years ago, almost to the day, Fukushima blew up in Japan. It was a big scandal in the first several months. This is 10 years ago. Nobody has ever spoken about it really lately at all over the years, and it's still happening, which means the negative impact is still going on, especially for people in America, on the West Coast, California, and up north. They're all impacted by Fukushima still. So the bees are dying by the millions, trillions. Now, a lot of people say, so what the hell? If somebody knows a bit about the bees, and I'm trying to do that here and explain to you, and you can find this on my website. If you go to Protect Pro, like protection professional, protectpro.net, you see a button about the bees, and I encourage you to study that, to read it. And what I'm playing to you today now and showing to you on videos or on pictures or in text, you can find to the most part on that website to read again and to study. We discuss how old mankind is. And years ago it was 50,000, then suddenly it became 100,000, and then 120,000. When did mankind start? Now, some people go and say that they started 5 million years ago. All right. What, it's 3 million ago, 5 million ago? What the heck? So pick a number. Let's say 5 million ago is true. Now, to your surprise, maybe, you may want to know or feel interesting that the bees, the oldest bee has ever been found, captured in a piece of amber, dated, now listen up, 50 million years ago. That's a big number. And whether they made a mistake there and it's only 30 million years ago with their testing, I don't care. It's not important. Important is that millions of years before mankind appeared on this planet, that's the bottom line. Millions of years before, the bees were already there. And the bees have taken their part. Now imagine the world is blank without human beings, but it happens. There are flowers, there are plants, there are trees, there are fruits, there are all kinds of things. Now, how did these fruits and flowers and everything, vegetables, multiply? They multiplied primarily by the help of the bees and their pollination. Yes, there are insects as well, which pollinate, and the winds do some jobs, and the weathers, but big, maybe the biggest part of pollination comes down to the bees. So the bees prepared this world, helped to prepare this world as we know it today, or at least as we knew it before we started to screw up. So the bees multiplied by the millions and billions, and they did this incredible job. So let's take the bottom line information. Millions of years before the humankind appeared on this planet, bees were there, and they delivered an incredible foundation for humans to live from. As we know, at the early days, there was less of meat eating. It was more plant-based. It was more nuts and fruits and everything which could be found just in nature around the corner, if they were lucky. All right, so far so good. Now, the next step of what we know is that about 10,000 years ago, they say 8 to 12,000 years ago, they found in Spain in cages, they found in caves, sorry, not cages, in caves, they found in caves some wall paintings by these people, the human beings who lived at this time, and a lot of them spent their life in caves. And they would paint on the caves their life, hunting scenes with bow and arrow. And funny enough, as you see here in this photo, they painted a painting showing somebody climbing up a tree collecting honey from the bees. They collected honey from the bees. Interesting. And this painting is in Spain, 8 to 12,000 years dated, which is a long time ago. Then the next step is 500 years BC, bees had a big recognition and appreciation with the Egyptians. The Egyptians knew already about the bees, and they used their bee wax, and they used honey, the bee wax, for making wax candles. A lot of people do not know that the original candles were all made of bee wax, which was very precious at this time, and the honey. So they collected the honey, but the honey was like the food from the gods, and it was the first known sweet. They used it as a dessert, as a sweet, and it was very expensive, and only for a small minority of the population of the higher standards in this world. And that was 400-500 years BC, and here you see some images how they appeared in the Egyptians' paintings and drawings and pottery. Now we make a fast forward to the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages in Europe, when bees were still first always living in tree hollows, in caves, in lonely places, not with people, not on farms yet, there was a trait which developed called in the German language the Zeitler. And the Zeitler was a guild. It was a guild, a federation of people who started to harvest honey from the beehives. And that was the first big step in colonizing bees. And these settlers, here is an image of the Middle Ages. These settlers in 11th, 12th century were very important. And they even had their own court system, their civil rights. But still at this time, it was primarily only the rich people who could afford honey and the beeswax. It was still not totally popular for the common people. Now, these settler people did a lot to bring the bees then into a domestic situation where beehives would be established on farms. And farming and beehives and all this culture started. Beekeepers started to develop the art and started to learn how to treat bees and how to harvest them. Among which other was the knowledge that they had to, the bees were creating the honey for their winter time, to have food in winter time. And the human beings robbed, so to speak, the honey and gave them to a big part pretty cheap, sugary water as a food for the winter. And once a new form of beets appeared, sugar beets, the honey lost his exclusive situation and position in the society. And these cheap beet sugars then became popular desserts and sugaring the food. So that was a big step. And here in between, you see all the time I'm blending in some photos and some short tracks of bees to familiarize yourself a bit more with the culture of the bees. And I must say that since I started to put myself into the thoughts of bees, I started to be amazed. Bees are not just a beehive where they're crawling around. We think that from the first view as an outsider, not knowing much about it. The beehive is like a spiritual center. It's really a spiritual center, in which, of course, the center is the queen, which hardly anybody ever gets to see. Interesting enough, a friend of mine who uses one of my products called the 1-3, a certain lamp, a light, he put that light into the beehive, and he reported to me that the queen was appearing and showing herself and laid back and had that light shine on her belly several times. And he contributed the light, the effect of the light, the technology that attracted the queen, which every beekeeper is keen to watch and to see. It's something special for every beekeeper, all right? But all the bees and what they do is very special. The pollination was a standard work which the beekeepers had to do. The quantities of honey is enormous. According to a study, the income from crop cultivation would be around 41% lower without the work of the bees. Now, why I'm telling you all this? Well, I want to blend in a bit about the culture of the bees and that you know what's going on. And there's some other data which is important to know. Already in early times, people realized that the bees have a very interesting situation. They used the bee honey to treat, to heal wounds as an antiseptic. And this is still done today in various parts of the world. The bee honey was very antiseptic. And to give you some data here, the honey has about 200 different ingredients besides vitamin B and C, proteins, enzymes, minerals, trace elements, amino acids, pollen. This is all in the bee honey, which most people don't know. They're not aware of it. So the beehive is a marvel and a total organism. The bees work together in a colony, shoulder to shoulder. Everyone has his position and his work to do, and they're doing this. And they have an enormous technology. They're building these bee combs, like the honeycombs, right? Now imagine this. They work in the dark and they create those honeycombs. And for the worker dolls, the honeycomb is always 5.2 millimeters, not 5.5 or 5.0, 5.2 millimeters for the worker dolls. And this is going on for millions of years. They built these with these exact measurements. And trust me, they don't have a ruler and no measuring tape. And for the drones, they have to be bigger because the drones are bigger. And for the drones, it's exactly 6.9 millimeters. 6.9 millimeters every time, all the time. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Another fascinating thing is that bees, when they fly, they create a negatively charged electric field. A lot of animals on this planet, which we don't know, or we're not aware of it, work on this planet and move on this planet, including birds, by using small charge, low charge electrical fields, which we have on this planet by nature. And they use this to orientate themselves to find their ways left and right and back and front. The electromagnetic radiation we have on this planet now creates the problem we'll be talking today about. So the bee flies out, finds flowers, takes the nectar, and flies home. Now, once the bees comes home, they communicate with their fellows about where did they find the flowers. It's called a bee dance. So they move in front of their colleagues in a way that the colleague can duplicate. What are you trying to tell me? Which direction do I have to fly? And how far to find the flowers you found? I mean, come on, guys. Sit back and relax and think about it. They have communicated to their fellows where to fly, how far and which direction, by moving their body in certain ways, which is called widely the bee dance. Amazing, completely amazing. Now, this was so far so good, but many years ago, the bees started to die. The bees started to die by the thousands, by the millions, and it goes on and on and on. And at the moment, bees and many insects are vanishing from the face of the earth. Many of them are just vanishing, which is very bad. So what does that mean? That does mean that we are going to be losing our way we grow food, we harvest food. Because they say that bees are responsible for up to 80% of the pollination for most of the fruits which we use nowadays and the flowers. There was a field study done in 2015 on 2 Greek islands. They showed that the bees were affected by what we call nowadays electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation we use for Wi-Fi, we use for cell phones, GPS, smart meters, everywhere left and right. And in 2015 already, they found that the wild bees, once they were confronted, attacked, so to speak, by the electromagnetic radiation, they tried to go underground to save themselves from this radiation exposure. While they were typically in trees and in rock niches, they tried to avoid to be as close as possible to transmission towers. They tried to get away from them. So they went underground. So that was the first proof, undoubtedly in 2015 already, that the main cause for bees to vanish from this planet are these electromagnetic radiation. The electromagnetic radiation, which I did some shows on, which you can watch here on my station, has exploded over the last 60 years. One can comfortably say over the last 60 years, since 1960, electromagnetic radiation came all on board, first through the armies, then through the industries, and then they came up with the cell phones, of course, and the Wi-Fis. So we can say in the last 60 years, nature, the human beings and nature, which means plants and animals, have been attacked and partly destroyed by electromagnetic radiation, which I teach in my seminars and my workshops and in my other talk shows. You can look it up and listen to it. What 90 million years has been working fluently without any problem, all of a sudden, within 60 years, we are systematically destroying it. Not only the life of the bees, we're talking here as well, the sea life. I mean, can you really eat any more seafood without being bombarded with chemicals and heavy metals and plastic? We have microplastic everywhere, even our rain on our streets, in the rivers, in the ocean. We are systematically destroying this planet. There's no question, systematically. And if you have not realized it, you'll find out in our lifetime, as the clean water is a problem. Water is a problem in general. The ocean is a problem. The earth, which is depleted, it's all going downhill, guys. There's no question. And sometimes I'm asking myself whether we have deserved to still live on this planet, or whether we have started suicide, long-term suicide for mankind, and we deserve to vanish from this planet. This planet, nature, can easily live without us. Easily. No problem. They don't need us. They don't need us at all. However, human beings need the nature. We have not realized this because we're systematically destroying our life. We're systematically destroying this planet. Systematically. More and more all the time. And mankind is extinct. One day, I'll put this gravestone up, which you see here. Mankind is extinct because they believed the laws of nature were not valid for them. We can't change the laws of nature. We cannot. We think we can. Not everything which we can do is worth doing. We can finance a lot of crap. We can bring out a lot of funny stuff, sexy, entertaining, but we pay a price for it. We pay a price for this comfort and this entertainment. And the price is primarily our health, our life as such, our DNA, which is destroyed. Every time you take an airplane, your DNA gets attacked. We destroy the life of our children. We have to change our mindset. Even if something can be done, even if it can be financed, it does not mean we should do it. We have lost common sense. We have to live with the nature, not against the nature. Please keep this in mind when you think about what's going on if you watch. And it's very difficult because it means a change in lifestyle. Who wants to give up the lifestyle? Who wants to give up the cell phones? Nobody wants to give it up. I myself use a cell phone all the time and internet. However, I have designed products, as you can see in my other shows, to protect yourself from these toys, electromagnetic radiation. Every third person in the world is momentarily dying of cancer, and the number goes up. Please remember this number and reflect on it. Why does every third person dies of cancer? Give me an answer. My answer is primarily, not only, but primarily, to the enormous amount of electromagnetic radiation, equal Wi-Fi, cell phone, and all that stuff, right? And now the 5G, 4G before was already the devil. 5G is a bigger devil, a different kind of devil, but they're both. All right, so with the 4G and 5G electromagnetic radiation covering the planet, the bees are dying because one reason is they can't find their way home to the beehives anymore. The other day it was in Croatia, in a part of Croatia where they grow a lot of fruits and plants and trees and flowers, and they have a very strong honey culture there and honey business with millions of beehives. And it was publicly reported in the news, at least in Europe, that overnight in this area, 1,500 beehives, bee colonies vanished. They were gone. Just gone. You want to see what it looks like when bees are dead? Look at this picture here. Right, they were gone. And 1,500 times, and every colony has about 40,000 bees. That adds up to what? 60 million bees, right? 1,500 multiplied by 40,000. Yeah, 60 million bees. 60 million bees vanished like this overnight in one small section of the world. And it happens all the time, more and more, and the beekeepers are very concerned. And let me say something about the beekeepers. Since I started to look into the bees and what I can do to solve the problem, which I think I have found, which we'll talk about later, the beekeepers are incredible people. I mean, their love for this species and their work to keep them alive and to give them a home, to get us honey. The work of the beekeepers is enormous. And they have to learn for a long, long time. You just cannot have a beehive and then next year you have bees and honey and so on and so forth. It's a long process to learn and understand, to become a specialist as a beekeeper. And they have my deepest respect. And since I started to look into bees and what it takes, I even respect them more and more and more by the day. So thank you to all you beekeepers out there for the work you're doing. And I'm aware that you don't have full recognition, not by the politicians and not by the society as such. You are a special type of people out there, and hands down, and you have all my respect. And for those of you who are consumers buying honey, let me say something about this bee as well, and the beekeepers. Nowadays, the market is flooded with cheap, lousy honey. And when you go to supermarkets, the liquid stuff they're selling there, like syrup running almost like water, that's all BS, guys. That's not real honey. It says honey on the label. People believe it's honey, but it's not. Real, true honey is different. And this is what it kind of looks like. And it's not only different, the taste, the quality is different. And let me say this clearly, the price is different. It's hard for the local beekeepers. They cannot compete with cheap stuff from China. I was living in China for many years. I mean, I have a huge Chinese background in my knowledge and my expertise in my work, in my time, in my years I spent in China and in Asia. And I left 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, I left China saying, I don't come back again, never, ever. I had it. I know what's going on. And it drives me nuts, absolutely nuts to see that we are importing food from China. Electronic gadgets, blah, 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 what have you. Okay. But food from China? Are you crazy? I mean, That's ridiculous. It's typically the lousiest standard you can ever have in this world. And then honey from China? Please, if you want to live a healthy life, refuse this quality in honey and pay some bucks more. Yes, it will cost you more to have decent, first-class quality from a local beekeeper. And you know what? It's worth every penny. It's absolutely worth every penny. All right? All right, so far so good. So now let's look into what's going on now. What's going on now that the bees are dying, and I designed a product to help that. It looks like this here. It's a plate. It's a plate, and I call it a quantum physics computer. No electricity, no power, no batteries, no nothing. And I warranty it for 10 years. And what the beekeeper does, he puts it in the center of his beehives, and it covers a radius of 75 feet. And all the bee colonies within the 75 feet radius, 150 feet diameter, are completely, let me call it, shielded, covered, protected against all kinds of electromagnetic radiation. So no electromagnetic radiation will do harm to the bees anymore, as long as they are in that area, but it goes further. Now, some people know, some people don't know, bees need what we call geopathic zones or ley lines or water veins. I will do soon a show about geopathic zones. Well, I teach you what geopathic zones are, but take it for now. The human being does not well in geopathic zones. When they cross through our living room and our bedroom, we suffer and it harms the human body. But the bees need geopathic zones. They want it. If you look at a natural wild bee colony, it's always in the geopathic zones. And here the information for the beekeepers, in case you don't know it, just in case. You would do better with your bees if you position their beehives in a geopathic zones. You can write to me emails. You can call me. If you want more information, again, on my website, protectpro.net, you can find these informations. Okay, so now the bees are protected with my product, right? Now they leave the beehive, and now this is very hard to take. I understand that. It's very hard to digest, very hard. But I say it anyway because it's fact. Now the beehives, once they leave the beehive, they fly out to find their flowers, right? We know that. That's what bees do. Now, the fact that they were sitting in a protected area, and that's the tough part to digest, they're taking that protection with them like a backpack on their shoulder. They take that protection with them when they fly out to the flowers. And taking that backpack with them assures them that the electromagnetic radiation outside their colony, where they have this protection, as we discussed, outside the bee colony, if they fly out there, then they are protected as well, because they're going to be exposed to Wi-Fi wherever they go, right? No question. But now, let me get this paper here real quick. But now, they're protected while they're out there. So we give them a mobile protection on the road. That's hard to take. I understand that completely. And the bigger part even then is, when they find those flowers, we have to know that most of these flowers nowadays are covered with pesticides, fungicides, all kinds of chemical, Roundup, all kinds of crap, which we have on this planet, on the plants. And of course, the bees bring these, let me call them poisons, back with them in their pollen, and it ends up more or less in the honey. That's not avoidable. Now, the technology I have developed is that the bee, when they go out there, we nullify the negative information of the poison in the flowers. And I understand that's very hard to take. That's called quantum physics. You can read on my website more about this. I don't want to go too deep into this because it's mind-blowing and a lot of people will not understand it and it's hard to digest. So we protect the bees in the hive against electromagnetic radiation, and we nullify all negative information in the beehive which came in through chemicals, which the bees brought in typically from the flowers. And when the bees fly out there, they take that protection against electromagnetic radiation and that protection against these harmful chemicals with them. So I have created with my team a product which is a dream come true, that we have an obligation as mankind. We have used the bees, all right, we have spoiled their life, we have spoiled their home grounds, we have spoiled their habitats. We have spoiled it with our cool technology. And now we have a responsibility to reverse it, to bring back their lives to a normal standard. And this unit, which I showed to you, does exactly that. Now, you can believe it or not, that's okay. In order not to only believe it, I have tested my product, like all my products, I've tested them by the BESA Institute, BESA, BESA Institute in Austria. And in this case, with the bees, they have created an expertise of 313 pages. An expertise of 313 pages in which they test my statements. And once they found they're true, they of course certified my product. Again, here's a certification, and you can find all that information on my website, among others. And of course, you can feel free to call me anytime you would love to call me and discuss and find out. All right, so not enough about that. There's some part which then becomes even more interesting and more new to you. Let's summarize at this point before we go into this technical part. We cannot live without the bees. We have a responsibility to rehabilitate the habitat. My team and I went ahead and did that. The bees are so valuable for our life that the majority of the society, except the beekeepers, have no idea. We're destroying our world in many different areas. And by destroying the habitat of the bees, it's another nail in the coffin. I want the fellow man to wake up. I want them to support the actions in this world, not only to save the bees, but as well save our lives, the lives of our children, our planet. Is it late? It's absolutely late. Is it too late? I'm fighting every day with the idea whether it's too late or not. But okay, it is what it is. All right. Now, there is a situation which is completely new to most people and completely new to most beekeepers. In Europe, we have a technology called the 7-star design, the 7-star bee design. In the Middle Ages, the Crusaders brought home to Europe something they discovered in churches, in main cathedrals. In main cathedrals, they found a 7-star design. So what is that? Look here, you see the drawing. The 7-star consists of a circle with 7-star tips in a circular form at the same distance from each other. From there, the straight lines run to the center of the circle and form a star, as you can see here in the drawing, which I highlighted in red for better recognize it. What does it do? Terrestrials and cosmic energies are captured via these star tips. They act like antennas, transmitting to the center and form their arch back to the tips in a constant cycle. Now, this cycle increases the energy. So in other words, we're capturing energy from the Earth and from the cosmos. Now, some of you who are have been a bit around, that may remind you of a gentleman called Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla wanted to deliver free energy to the world, and he started to do so before they stopped him. You can look up Tesla, and on my website I have some books and some YouTube videos for you to look at. Now, what does the star do with regards to the bees? Well, it increases the productivity of the bees and makes them stronger to fight their natural enemies. What I have done with my plate, I support the bees to give them more strength and fight back their natural enemies. And in Germany, there are some 300-400 beekeepers who have done that, but they had to position their bee colonies exactly in the tip of these stars. When you put it exactly there, it works. If you don't put it exactly there, it doesn't work. And everyone who works with bees knows about the natural enemies, like the mites and other enemies the natural bees have, and illnesses, diseases. And the weaker the bees are, the less they can fight the enemies and these diseases. And the 7-star situation made the bees much stronger, because the bees live on a different vibration. Their enemy vibration, their energy vibration is much higher. So high that the mites, for example, cannot live with that. This is not very known, but in Europe, in Germany, we have that for a long time, and it's known within the connoisseurs. Now, what I have done with the plate I developed, I took that 7-star concept and doubled it. I made it a 14-star concept. So with this plate, you not only defend the bees from electromagnetic radiation and chemicals and helping them fighting the enemies, but with the 14-star design, I took this knowledge about the 7-star and multiplied it with one big difference on top. Now, you don't have to place the beehives exactly in that tip of the 7-star. That's over. You can place it now in this 75 feet radius wherever you want, without looking at any measurement or at any design. As long from the center of the plate, 75 feet, every beehive now has the advantage to live in this 14-star configuration. And I know this is a tough one, and I know it's hard for people to take. That's okay. I understand that. But go on my website and read it. I've written it up for you so that you can work with it and study it and have a better idea than just what I'm saying here on the talk show, which is very limited. Of course, it's very limited. And don't forget about the wild bees, guys. If anybody of you works with bees, these protectors I have done, if possible, just donate it to a wild bee colony to make the wild bees survive as well, not only the beehives in the colony of beekeepers and farmers. And we have big companies with many hundreds and thousands of beehives. All right. That was a quick one. Actually, the time was too short, really, when I think about it. But I try to give you an extract, a crash course, not every detail. I tried to give you some ideas where I'm going with this. And my biggest thing is I want to help contribute to protect the bees from fading away. And that's my technology. And I'm very happy that I was able to develop that technology with my people, my team. It's all based in quantum physics. Quantum physics is a bit complicated, and I don't want to get into it. But otherwise, it wouldn't be possible. You cannot think in your regular education in school. That doesn't work. On top of that, need to know that every product I make is made in Germany. Everything is made in Germany and designed and manufactured in Germany and shipped from Germany worldwide. And I'm very proud that we were able to pull this off. Protection from electromagnetic radiation is something you must understand quickly to save your lives. Cell phones are funny, but dangerous. Wi-Fi is funny, entertaining, but dangerous. And you know what? Bees are suffering like we suffer, like plants. I'm making some testings now to show in my next shows how plants are suffering from electromagnetic radiation. So try to contribute, try to support, help beekeepers. We have to improve this planet. We have no choice for the survival from ourselves and of our children. It's going to get late, guys. You're going to do something. And to save the bees is a major step. Beehive keepers, I salute you. Thanks a lot for your work. You are so important. I am aware of it. Unfortunately, many people are not. This is why I did my job. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. And a big thank you to Ed in Talk 10 radio station, who like always manages this show. Ed, thanks a million for your job. Brilliant as always. Thank you very much, Ed. And have a great day. Bye-bye. Good evening. See you next Monday, 6 to 7 p.m. 10 Talk radio station, AM 1340.